Before I get started, I just want to give out a quick trigger warning as this podcast may contain topics that are too disturbing for most to hear. Now, here we go into the podcast, so I hope everyone does enjoy. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Seth Acosta, and today I'm going to dive into one of the most infamous unsolved murder cases in American criminal history for law enforcement and forensic science. And I'm going to be talking about the ZODIAC Killer, which is a really interesting case in my opinion, but I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. I hope you enjoyed this podcast because it's my first podcast ever, and I'm kind of nervous about it, so let's just here to chill out and learn some really cool, interesting law and forensics work back in the day. So let's dive in. The Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer was an unidentified serial killer who operated in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s. The case remains one of the most intriguing because of the fact that the killer had used cryptic communication with media and law enforcement. He is still unidentified to this day, and we will begin with his confirmed attacks. So, around 1968 and 1969, the Zodiac first confirmed attack occurred on December 20th, 1968, when high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were shot and killed near Vallejo, California. And on July 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mago were attacked in a parking lot, also in Vallejo, California. Ferrin was killed, but Mago later survived and provided descriptions of the attacker, which, if I remember correctly, include, I want to say in his late 30s, 40s, maybe? I didn't get the chance to look at the pictures. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the other attacks. September 27th, 1969, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were attacked at Lake Berryessa. Shepard had died from her injuries while Hartnell survived. The Zodiac then later claimed taxi driver Paul Stein on October 11th, 1969 in San Francisco. This murder had unfortunately caused a shift in the case, as it had occurred in an urban setting, also in a different, town, I think. Because of these attacks, DNA analysis had not been invented yet during this time period, so solving this case would be really, really hard. However, they did get one suspect, which was Arthur Leigh Allen. But because of the DNA analysis not being invented, the evidence was inconclusive. So far, the Zodiac Killer had not been found yet, and we're gonna go ahead and get into the very most part that I think is very interesting, the letters and ciphers. In August 1969, they started sending letters to local newspapers, including the San Francisco Chronicle. These letters had contained ciphers, taunting messages, and details that only the Zodiac Killer had known about, whoever the victim was. One of the ciphers was the 408 symbol cipher. This cipher had been cracked by a couple from Salinas, revealing the message about enjoying the murders. The Zodiac Killer had continued to send more letters. Some had contained more ciphers, which only led to the confusion of the investigation, threats, which is really scary considering you don't even know who it was, and a piece of evidence, which was Stein's bloody shirt, which made proof of the Zodiac Killer's involvement. Now, the Zodiac Killer had left quite a mark on the world as no one knew who he was, and being the fact that it still remains unsolved as of 2025. However, there have been new developments, as one of the pieces of evidence had been solved in 1969, only one other cipher has been solved of as of 2020, which was the Z340 cipher. Now this had said, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise," which paradise being misspelled, "all the sooner," which really shows how harrowing this investigation was for law enforcement officers and forensic scientists who were on this case. And with that, the Zodiac Killer overall has left a big mark on this world over, just being mysterious and still being unsolved to this day. Now, many developments have occurred, but none have truly revealed the true identity of the Zodiac Killer, despite there being many advancements in forensic technology, as well as better connections with who the Zodiac Killer was. A lot has happened over the few years that the Zodiac Killer has gone on a killing spree, which have led to the development of books, documentaries, TV shows, references, games, and a bunch of other inspirations for stories that are similar to the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer's mark on the world has truly been more or less very interesting because of the fact that the more that we advance in the future for our technology, the more closer we are to solving this murder case, this unsolved murder case. And I really do pray in the future that we end up finding the identity and bringing closure to the poor families that were hurt by this man or woman. We still don't know the identity. And as for my final opinion, I would like to say that this case is very interesting for the fact that we don't know who it is still after a long time of investigating this case. And as a kid who's in forensic science class, I really would like to work on this case one day if I ever go into forensic science. I like stories like these because it gives me an edge towards the future about how technology can evolve and show us how to solve these cases and really use our minds to think and show the world about what we can do as a society in order to find out about things like this. The mysteries of the Zodiac Killer will definitely be a mark on human history, and I think I would imagine seeing it in a history book one day, as many books have been written about the Zodiac Killer. And I absolutely love unsolved murders just due to the fact that these are things that can continue on for decades and decades without anyone being able to solve it, and it's like a giant puzzle, and I like most puzzles. However, I like to think that success favors the prepared mind, just due to the fact that so much studying will go into certain things, certain classes, and with this, our knowledge can expand in order to help solve these cases. And I would really, really love to see this case be solved, because I think it'll bring closure to the families that were harmed by this killer. And I really hope that they identify the killer so that way they can have closure as well, because of the fact that you gotta think on both sides. The killer isn't going to be in their right state of mind, so finding closure, even if they're alive or dead, would be really nice to see. And B, sharing these stories will continue the ever so lasting legacy of storytelling and solving puzzles that we as humans need to share in order to find a sense of hope, if you will. My name is Seth Acosta, and this has been my podcast. I hope everyone's enjoyed it, considering it's my first podcast and being really nervous. So, yeah, I really hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you and goodbye.